Hello, this is EvereTT Pierce, and it is January the 29th, 2017. Yep, you know it. And of course, some people are in the background probably saying, "No, not the tree of knowledge, for the love of God, no." Okay, so, to relax, it is a tree of love. You say, what? Tree of love? How can this tree teach me about love? How can this tree teach me about women? Since men seem to struggle at it, is they say, well, women are complex. They're, it's like you can't win against them. You can't do it. Like a woman is supposed to be on a level that you can't comprehend. Well, it's like, it's part of her job for multitasking for starters, because she has a child. So if there's going to be a 1 and a 2, she takes on the 2 factor. So, the tree of love. Now, if there was nothing in this yard, nothing, except for a tree and the place in which I live, and to say I have no one here, no one to talk to, no one, nothing, just me and a tree. And as we had, there's some movies out there that it was basically he was in a city, and it was just him. Well, later on he found out there were other people, but so there's no one for me to talk to. Say I'm the only person on this planet. I've lived to be 10,000 years old, and eventually, the sense of our behavior and our personality, we need to talk. This sense of connection. So if it's just me and this tree, now I'm going to say the tree of love. Well, obviously, that tree's not built like a woman that I can have sex with it. But I can sure use my creativity. You say, oh my God, that's sick. But in a different way. Obviously, well, if you look at that, that's like a pair of legs. It's like, oh, my woman's buried upside down. There's a Rock Hudson. There's a joke of, okay, we won't go in that direction. But, so the tree of love. So it's just me. I have nothing to talk to. It's life. I'm life. And as what I know about love, you have to understand the polarity of love. Love is designed to come to you, and not you to it. And that seems to be a hard thing to conceive by many people, because I see both genders doing it, seeking out love for people to like them and love them, and how so wrong that is. Your job, which is the illustration of this tree, the tree of love, is people seek out, and one of the big mistakes, huge mistakes, I don't care if you like or what I am about to say, is you don't use sex and sexuality in the bedroom to establish your self-worth, your self-esteem, and your existence. That is the time for maintenance of the body, as well as you to get oriented with your 5 senses and to take care of each other's maintenancing role. Okay, now of course we know with sex, it also plays a role in procreation. Now obviously I cannot have sex with a tree, and we have little baby trees. But that's where your creativity comes in. Okay, so that means I'm going to get bored. I feel like I need to talk to something. So it's just me and it. So I'm going to talk to it. I'm coming to it. Say, this is the element of love. Now I have to appreciate everything about this tree. From the texture of it, how it feels, to the leaves and the growth to it. Everything. And even the things that are less than perfect, like we see here with the bark. Because of, the dehydration here. So some of the bark is coming off because it has been subjected to frost. But we're talking, this is my woman now. She's my baby because it's just me and her. So Now, I have to take in terms of appreciation. Okay, so when I mentioned my previous statement about the bedroom is, you know, you have, okay, if you are a male and you can provide an hour's worth of maintaining, is you got 23 hours of the remaining of the day to establish that. Meaning that your job is to be who you are, establish your skill sets, develop them, and fine-tune them. Now this tree has already, and for the most part, has already done that. It's not, I mean, it can put more growth to it, but what we see is what we get. So it's not I'm going to come out tomorrow, just me and the tree, I'm going to find something different about it. Now, if I do find something different about it, is maybe I might notice a new branch on there, okay, in reference or symbolism of that person's personality, or a different perspective of her view on, say, spirituality. So for this tree, now I have to get to know it. I have to get to know this tree, so when I do have a female and my girlfriend, or, you know, there's many different labels, okay, but when I have a significant other, a energy opposite of me, a human that has a vagina, okay, that's one of the complaints that we see with women out there, is that men are not taking the time to notice everything. It's like, you notice a tree and this is all you see. This is all you see. And these are a pair of legs. And it's like males, all you see is it's the goodies in the middle. And you don't see anything other. You're forever seeing brown. You never get to step back and say, wait a minute, it's got different shades of green. It's got different branches. It has different textures in it, and then you can advance it further and say, where is their strong points? Is obviously you don't see them, but something is holding it down to the ground. And that could be many things. Her belief system, her concept, her evolution. So, doesn't mean I have to agree with the shape that it's taken in. But if it's just me and this tree has got to be my girlfriend, I have to establish communications with it. And you say, well, Everett, you don't talk to trees. Really? Are you that so with so many limitations in your thinking that that's an impossibility? It's interesting in Genesis, and of course it was depicted by a snake on the tree, because people in their evolution couldn't understand how a tree can communicate. We communicate. And we have memory cells. If we have memory cells, so does this tree. So, and like I said, if I'm in my house and I'm just bored as all get, if you've ever been in that situation, you've had no contact, you're staring at four walls, basically what a lot of the seniors experience in their retirement days. And the family just kind of throw them aside like a used big lighter, and they don't get to hear from their family. And if they do, and it's because they're there to get some money out of them or something out of them. So each and every day I come out of my house. When I say we're on Mars, you can put anything as far as symbolism, in which that was also an awesome movie. He was stuck on Mars, and as you can see in the movie, is he's talking to himself. Well, the thing is, not to frighten you guys, but it's okay. It's part of the process that we think to ourselves and we talk to ourselves, and it's okay that, and I talk to trees. And if I develop my sense of communication, and this is my girlfriend, and just like women out there, is I'm going to have to learn her version of her communication. So, say for example, if your girlfriend says, you asshole, get over here. That might be her form of endearment. You know, because as we see with a lot of people in their different usage of the English language, you know, just because you're slinging out a word, now you have to go deeper, pardon the expression, as to what she means by that. Because just because you sling that word doesn't automatically establish intentions. Nope. And if you're focusing on the goodies, and you say, yeah, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. And then she says, hey, my eyes are up here, baby. And you say, boy, look at the size of those babies. That's got to be at least a D size, right? Now, I hope you're laughing. And also, an element of truism. Because if it's going to be me and this tree, also, if I see this tree becoming sick, okay, and of course the leaves are falling, and we're almost in February. You know, that usually happens in November, by the way. But if I see this tree, and I see it's obviously sick, and it's just me and her, then I gotta be resourceful enough, and then vice versa, is I say, wait a minute, you know, actually I'm kind of dehydrated, I'm kind of thirsty, oh shoot, it's gotta be water. Then our water resource is a mile away. I may have to walk a mile away, get my pails and my buckets or whatever I can get a hand on, and get some water and dump it right here. And then through our experiences, then I find that the tree is greener. Feedback, collective feedback. So women are not as complex as some men want to think. Actually, it's a defense mechanism. They claim that, oh, she's so complex, she's just so hard to deal with. It's because they're taking an easy way out. Because if they proclaim it as impossibility, then they're basically accepting zero accountability. And it's like, everyone, you know, no one's innocent to this factor. It means all you have to do, all this tree has to do is be a tree. Now, if I stayed inside the house, eventually it's going to drop a leaf. And if I like a clean yard, you know, as we associate, especially in the early part of man's timeline, women they're, you know, a false of it, but it's like a woman's place is in the house, you know, cleaning like a maid. Well, I'm here to beg to differ. But if it's just me and her and she's dropping her leaves, she's making a mess, I'm going to have to clean up the mess because my tree doesn't have arms and the wind picks up. Thank you. Okay, so now she's making a mess and she's unable to clean it up. So now it's my job, because I like a clean yard, I have to clean up the leaves. So that's why just simply the tree of love can teach you a boatload about women. And if you want something complex to think about, of impossibility, of trying to figure out, you're listening to them. You know, and then part of that is because of warfare. Because if you're as talented as I in knowledge and experience, is the people that are declaring war against you are going to try to figure you out in ways that they will use your weaknesses against you to destroy you. That's just part of warfare. But we're not talking about warfare. We're talking about the tree of knowledge. But, you know, but this my girlfriend, this tree of knowledge, a big gust of wind comes along, and I'm sitting here, I'm being like Isaac Newton, I'm communicating to her, and she's communicating back and forth, and the wind blows her down on top of me. So, what is my salvation can also be the very thing that destroys me. So yeah, if I'm sitting right here and you see the angle of the tree, okay, well obviously I wouldn't be right there because it's angling that way. So if wind comes, that's where it'll fall. So if I'm sitting next to her, just like the vagina in a very specific area, the breast in a very specific area. So we, as a male, we have to be oriented to very specific locations, including her lips. Meaning to know how to hug her and kiss her. So I'm going to sit right here just in case the wind blows and it blows her down. It'd be like we're in bed together. I'm going to lay next to her. But at least she's not on top of me, crushing me. So these are the things that I would think. If I was just one man in one tree, the tree of love, of how I'm to figure out and understand. And you think, it's like, well, if you went back in a time machine and you're trying to do this with a caveman, well, and it's like, well, just start with a tree. Some people struggle with the concept of expanding one's creativity and objectiveness with a tree of love, the tree of knowledge. But we're talking about love. And you say, well, I can give this tree a form of love. I touch it. That's foreplay. And you say, boy, look at these hooters. Ooh, those are big ones there, baby. And I'm touching it. As we know with energy cause and effect. It is one energy is always affecting another energy. So either I'm talking in my thoughts to it or talking out loud. And of course, what I expel out as I breathe, it takes in as nutrients. And then what it puts out, I'm able to bring in. So that's an element of a cycle. So as I'm observing her, so our job essentially is to be the best that we can be. And then eventually this tree will get a great appreciation for me, and I will have a great appreciation for it. For the fact that we are focusing on what we are supposed to be doing, and love fills in the gaps. And what we see with a lot of the relationships out there, and I stand true, solid on this. If you're seeking out love, because what's the reverse of love? The reverse of love is cancer. You know, for every action there's a reaction. There's a yin, there's a yang. So there are many things that contribute to bringing about in your society cancer. And the way we handle our relationships and how we treat them affects everything in our environment. So, I mean, if I come out here and I say, yo, woman, you're not being flexible with me. And she says, well, I can't be, because this is how I'm made. And then it means that you're not flexible. You're not being understanding to what her limits are. And then when I say limitations, it's set limitations that is beyond your control. And if you're concerned about limitations, then be concerned about limitations you set upon yourself. So this tree has set limitations. I mean, it's rooted into the ground. I can't ask her to walk down the street with me. So when we start abstracting these things, and you say, holy crap, you mean you learned everything you know about women using a tree? And I even have foreplay with it. And I go, tickle, tickle, tickle. He said, boy, that man is crazy. But, okay, so if I seen in my tree, my woman, and obviously that's not normal, that would indicate to me dehydration. And I see discoloration of her leaves using collective information. Then I go down a mile away and find a way to bring back some water to minimize the health issue that's at hand. Now, of course, she can't do that with me because I'm a different form of life. But you say, well, what can she do for me? Well, in the event that we have a flood, I'd have to hold on to her tight. And you say, and I would hold on to her tight. If a tsunami is coming, you say, Everett, you're holding her crotch. Well, I don't care where you got to hold her. But this tree here can be my salvation. You know, if my living quarters, and she's got enough leaves up here, and it's hailing out, she will take the brunt of the hail. So I don't get hit in the head with baseball-sized hail. And I'm taking refuge under her. because she has enough branches and leaves up there to slow down the process of that hail coming down upon me. So now we become a functional unit. That's what it does. It comes down to functionality. Is how can I be myself at my fullest in my entirety, as well as she being herself in her entirety. And being able to identify collective information. So I'm going to find out where she can destroy me, like if I'm sitting here and the wind blows and it blows on top of me and now I got 1,000 pounds crushing down on me. Or if it's hailing out and I don't want to be hitting the head and be a cartoon and I got little lumps on my head, I can seek refuge with her. So I have to learn everything about her, and she has to learn everything about me. In this form of communications, even though you have not developed your sense of communications of communicating to a tree, but it will talk to you. So if I'm trimming this tree, because pruning, meaning she's too or it was like for a woman to be too heavy topside. Men love that. Okay, but I mean it's not a requirement, but it's like if it's there, it's nice. If it isn't, there are many other things about women that is like, how could you not love? How could you not appreciate in terms of a man? So, and when you limit, and if my head was just stuck in her crotch, and that's the only thing I saw, well, the only thing that she could protect me of is hail. But it wouldn't protect me of a wind blowing her down upon me and crushing me. So, the tree of love. Who'd have thunk it, right? And then I could take it one step further as far as, women, they take to the extent of knowing what your favorite color is, what you like, what sports you like. Well, then I can sit here and say, well, I'm going to count how many branches she has. Well, and it's like, well, I could go to an extent of counting the leaves, but I could get up in those branches and start counting them, but I could probably hurt her. I mean, break branches along the way. But I could just say, well, baby, you're all that in terms of your leaves. Okay, but the obvious, I can start counting the branches in terms of her personality, how she feels, how she thinks, because we have many different types of emotions. So this is just an introductory. You should see the size of the library that I have on the tree of love in reference to many things. And this is just reference to the love element, since people are so adamant. And it was interesting. I poke fun at it, but you see, with women, there's two forms of love. I love you, and then I'm in love with you. And say, well, isn't love? Okay, but there's difference. Basically, when a woman says, I'm in love with you, it means she wants to F your brains out. And she wants to utilize you to your fullest. And she wants you to utilize her to her fullest. And not just be focal or stuck on her vagina and her breast. Okay? So I hope you're laughing with me. But that's how you use expand and contract. Of how, if it was just me and I'm on Mars and I have just me and this tree. And because I will learn how it can be my salvation, and it will learn how to, and vice versa. I can be its salvation, her salvation, and she can be my salvation. And that's how, if you want a book of relationships and how, because when I'm inside, she doesn't come into me and say, hey, good looking, my vagina is right here. Don't you want to come and take a look? No. Is when I get bored, okay, not that you should go to your girlfriend when you're only bored. It's like when you start appreciating the valuable things in your life, you'll be to the point is like, I will want to come out here just for the peace of mind and be able to associate and connect with another life form. Is I'm not going to have to be paid to come out. It's like the tree's not going to say, hey, you come out and spend some time with me, I'll give you some goodies. You know, it's like, but we see that a lot with relationship, you know, this bargaining, as using sex as a means of a bargaining tool. You know, and women do, they have, I mean, it's like, they use the vagina and their breasts like some monopolized businessman. And then the guys are going, hey, that's no fair. So, but that's why you have to expand your mind. And your end result is, how do the both of us reach a higher level of functionality? That it is in a better state of living, and I'm in a better state of living. And with that, that will conclude this first part of the tree of love.